Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited for you to hear from our very next guest. It is a good friend of mine, Andrea. She is a lawyer. So you're probably wondering, why do I have a lawyer on a nutrition podcast? Well, many reasons. She particularly helps small business owners. And I know that there's many of you who are inspiring to be, or currently, or maybe you are married to one. Regardless, she's so successful at what she does. I'm so excited for you to hear from her. So whether you want to start a business, you're in a business, or maybe you have nothing to do with business and you just want to know what does it take to be someone who is a freaking boss and a woman boss at that, especially if you're a woman, definitely stay on and continue to listen on. So anyways, Andrea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. You might have seen Andrea on my stories a couple of times. I definitely promoted. She's had some free webinars and training. She's so good at what she does. She's also a good friend of mine. We are in the same mastermind, so we have the same business coach. And I actually use her services. So there's lots you're going to learn.
I use yours.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's all connected, which I'm super excited. We'll talk about that later as well. So let's jump into the first question I always ask my guests, which is a 3-part question. I want you to introduce yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and more importantly, why you do what you do.
Okay. Who I am. I'm Andrea Sager. I am a lawyer, really serial entrepreneur, and I serve small business owners taking care of the legal side of their business. And why I do what I do is because I despise large law firms trying to take advantage of the small business owners, because I've been on that side. I actually started at a big law firm right out of law school. You know, I got like the dream job. I was in Cincinnati. I could actually watch a Cincinnati Reds game from my office. And I'm a huge baseball fan. So I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like this super fancy office. Like I'm sure a lot of you have seen Suits, like how the office looks, like super fancy. Like that was Suits. Like what actually goes on, it's not like Suits, but the look of everything, the feel of everything, super posh, super fancy. And I was making the most money I could ever imagine making in my life. Well, immediately I was miserable for multiple reasons, but I also had another small business at the time. It was a clothing boutique. That was my first business. And because I had that company, I had a lot of connections with boutique owners, and they constantly came to me when I was at the firm asking for help. Mainly they wanted help with trademarks, copyrights, creating their entity. And a lot of times the clients just couldn't afford the rates. I mean, it was a big firm. Like our clients were Kroger, Abercrombie and Fitch, like super large companies. And even though they couldn't afford the rates, I wanted to help, but I was tied to the firm. I couldn't. So I started to realize like, hey, there's a need in the market here. Well, eventually I did have a client that came to me. She was like, look, I don't care what it takes. I need a trademark and I want you to help me. So gave her the fees. I was bringing her on as a client. I was in my first year. I was like, I'm a rock star. They're going to love me. Like, this is great. Like, they're going to love this. I'm going to be, a shining star here at this big firm. No, they literally were like, this is a small business. We don't want them. And I'm like, okay, she's paying whatever the rate is. She's not asking for a discount. And that really was my defining moment. And I feel like we all have, one moment in particular that defines the next step of our life. And that was it for me. And so that happened, I think like March of 2018. And I was planning my exit. And I think right before we're getting on, I was telling you like, hey, I had parameters for what I'm doing now. Well, for me to exit and leave this firm, I had parameters. And I did not hit those parameters because basically I was in Cincinnati. I wanted to move back to Houston with my family. My ex-husband, who was my husband at the time, he was a stay-at-home dad. And I mean, I was the moneymaker. And so I had to have a job. So I was like, okay, once I get a job lined up in Houston, we'll make the move. Well, I remember this so clearly. It was a Wednesday and I had texted him and I was like, I'm so miserable. We have enough money saved to just hold us over. And we had just put our house on the market for sale because we're like, we're just going to go. We're going to go to Houston. We'll figure it out. Well, the Wednesday I'm texting him, like, I'm so miserable. I'm ready to leave. Like, I'm just done. He's like, well, just wait until we have an offer on the house. Then you can quit. And I'm like, you know what? That's perfectly reasonable. I will wait until we have an offer on the house. Well, Friday comes along. They come into my office. It was my, like the managing partner and then like my mentor. And they come into my office and immediately I knew what was happening. It took everything in me to not have a smile on my face and to look upset because I'm like 5 minorities rolled into one: female, Hispanic, military, like you name it. Oh, and I was the youngest associate to have a kid. And so I'm like, if they fire me, they have to offer me a severance package. So I feel like I manifested being fired, and They fired me, gave me the severance package and gave me enough to hold over. And I was like, you know what? Because the job search wasn't turning up anything, but getting that severance package, it gave me enough cushion to really convince my husband at the time, like, hey, we have enough money. Like, let's just see how it goes. Like, starting to get clients. So that night because I had so many connections with other business owners, I told him, I was like, hey, I'm on my own now. And immediately I started getting clients. So,
oh my God,
that's how things just fall into place. Like when you're in alignment and you know, like that's how you know.
I love that, like, your turning point was getting fired. I'm obsessed with that. I think that's amazing because I think so many people look at that as like a thing to be so upset about and like, oh, that's like almost like there should be shame around it. But no, it was everything you needed. And it was just so clear, like, that their company was not supporting small business owners and like whatever. So that's fine. It's like everything, your purpose is just like so clear, you know, and now, I mean, you help so many small businesses.
Yeah.
So.
And it was the most like, one of the most exciting moments of my life that I had to like not look excited for. And I remember they're like, look, you have a couple of decisions. And it was like 9:00 in the morning. And they're like, you know what? Take the rest of the day, come back on Monday, let us know. Shit. They left my office and girlfriend was gone. I was like, bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
Like, I am done. Like, I was like, yes, I will take the rest of the day. Thank you very much. I will think about this. But I was so excited. Went home, started packing our shit.
I love it. So I'm curious, let's backtrack a bit. Like, of all the careers you could have chosen, why did you choose to become a lawyer? Like, was that always on your heart? Like, what? Because you said you were in the military. Like, so like 10 what? Lives. Yeah, and you're only. Do you mind me sharing your age?
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. You just had a 30th birthday, right?
I just turned 30.
Amazing. So you're 30 years old. You were in the military. You became a lawyer, and now you have your own business and a thriving one at that.
Yes.
Like, girl. Yeah. How? Tell us how. What is the recipe for success?
Well, I honestly, people ask me that, like growing up, what was it? Honestly, I just watched a lot of TV and I believed that I could do anything. Like, because very true blue collar, middle class family. We never went without, but we never had money. Like, just enough to get by. But my parents always told us, like, hey, you can do whatever you want. Like, go for it. And I was always very independent, which I have learned since that it is a trauma response.
Thank you for
lots of trauma. And
which
honestly,
what's driven you, which we could also, if you don't mind kind of going there, I think that's important because I can relate to that too. A lot of my hard work ethic and anxiety was driving me to my success. And I finally healed that part. And now I'm like, what drives me anymore? Like, it's, you kind of get lost a little bit in the middle because you realize that. So yeah, sorry, we're going
No, you're good. My achievements I learned were for external validation. And once I finally realized that, and I know I kind of talked about this a little in the mastermind, but once I started to realize that, I was achieving things for external validation, it was like, well, what am I doing this for? So, for the past 6 months, the better part of this year, 2021, I've felt like I've been in a slump with the law firm, just like content, not really looking to achieve anything, because it's like, oh, I've achieved it. Like I'm here, like now I'm just still unfulfilled, but that's because I still had the trauma that I hadn't healed. So I wasn't happy within. And now, like, once I realized that and I healed that trauma inside of me, now it's like, oh, now I can achieve it because I want to achieve it, because I want to do it, not because I'm looking for somebody else's love, somebody else's validation. Like I'm doing this for me. And
that's powerful.
It's crazy. Doing all the healing work. It's been a long road, but I'm very, very grateful for where I am today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I've said this before, if you're new to but if maybe you're new to the podcast, so I always repeat myself because I never know if we have new listeners, but the lesson that I got when I decided to become an entrepreneur and really and do it full time was that I didn't know how much inner work I needed to do in order to continue to be successful and to grow. And it really does come down to like how you view yourself and your confidence level and your worth and healing those ugly parts. And because what's that saying? Every level's a new devil.
Yep.
Like, it's amazing that because there's so many layers, like you said, you lived many lives. Like we've been through so many experiences. Think about just what in 1 year, what you go through, and you accumulate that over the years. And if you never really slow down to pay attention, it just catches up with you and then it comes back and resurfaces. So I believe you're always healing and always growing, but the more you do the work, the better off you'll be.
Absolutely. And I have not even just today, but like in past lives that I've lived, like this reality, I have I humble brag here. Like I have accomplished so much, but I look back and it's like, none of that was for me. Like it was because my parents wanted me to, because I was trying to impress this guy, or I was trying to do this. But now, like I'm actually doing something because I want to do it. And I know
so
that
powerful.
Whether I accomplish it or not, I'm fine. Like I am happy with who I am today. And whether I'm successful at the next thing that I do, it's all good.
That's awesome. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. So let's get into the knit and grit of maybe someone who's in business or just looking to start a business. What would you say are maybe like 2 or 3 things that they definitely need, or at least need to know before going to market? Or I know it depends on the type of business as well. But are there any sort of like foundational things, like regardless of the type of your business, that you'll need?
Yes. So number 1, I'm going to say is mindset. I'm sure that's overused a lot, but when it comes to the legal stuff, I feel like probably 95% of people out there can resonate that the legal shit is scary. And
it's overwhelming.
That's what's in everybody's head, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It only feels like that because it's unknown. And you didn't go to law school, so you don't know how simple it can be. You don't know that you can take some precautions up front to avoid headaches down the road. So my mission is to educate as many business owners as possible, because the education is really where the secret is. And many lawyers are scared to educate because they're like, oh, I don't want to give them all the answers because then they won't hire me. But that's a whole nother mindset for lawyers. It's just like, if they don't like, that's just not your customer. So for business owners that are listening, or potential business owners, number 1 is your mindset. Don't look at the legal stuff as being scary. Look at it as, this is something that can truly empower my business because I take care of it up front. And that's really what I don't sue anybody. I've never filed a lawsuit except for my ex-husband when I divorced him. I've never been to court. I will never be in court, because everything that I do for entrepreneurs is proactive, and it's to avoid getting to that point of having to sue somebody. And the work you do up front can save you thousands and thousands of dollars down the road, so many headaches and so many problems. And it really just takes a little bit of work up front. Now, what work is that? Number 1, your entity. This is how you are legally operating your business. Many are, when they start out, are just sole proprietors. this is okay, as in it's compliant, but it is not lowering your level of risk. So when I tell people I'm proactive with what I do, my whole goal is to lower your risk level as a business owner. Because the moment you start selling something, the moment you're in business, your risk level goes from that of, just an ordinary person to the same level of risk of a Fortune 500 CEO. Same level of risk, because you're both doing the same thing. And so you need to make sure you are lowering your risk level. Number one way to do that is to have a separate entity. And most common for small business owners is an LLC, a limited liability company. This is going to limit your personal liability if something were to ever happen, if you were to get sued. So, and if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to get, who's going to want to sue me? I don't have anything. Let me explain. So let's say, I'll give an example. So you as an individual need to be separate from your business. Even if you're the sole owner, there needs to be separation. Because let's say you accidentally do something in your business that causes you to get sued, which you have no idea, because there's so many things you can do and you're probably already doing that could cause you to get sued.
Which just even your name. I know that happened. I had a friend who had to change his name of his business because they were going to sue him. So he literally had to change his name of his business because he didn't want to get sued. He avoided the lawsuit. Yeah. But he probably, if he had done more research before, you probably would have realized that.
Yeah. So you never know when you're doing something that can cause you to get sued in your business. So let's just say, whether you have personal assets or not, you still want to be separate, because if something happens where your business gets sued, if you have that separation, they can only go after the assets of the business. They cannot go after what you own personally. But if you were a sole proprietor, that means you and your business are just one. So if you do something in your business that causes you to get sued, you can also get sued personally, which means they can come after your house, your car, any personal assets. And if you're there thinking like, oh, I don't have anything, like I don't need to worry about that. Well, what if somebody's just sitting and waiting for you to get those assets? So then they can sue you and get something. Because ultimately, I think all of our goals are to be successful and to accumulate assets or more cash.
Yeah, if you don't have it now, you're probably becoming an entrepreneur so you could have it in the future.
Exactly. So it's just putting this protection up front, whether you have anything to protect or not. That's why you want to do it as soon as possible. Because let's say day one, you start your business, it's like, oh, I hope to make a lot of money. I'm going to wait until I'm making X amount of dollars to file an LLC. Well, day two, you accidentally do something that causes you to get sued. Well, that lawsuit's not going to happen on day two. It's probably going to happen on day 100 plus. Well, day three, it happens. You're making all this money and you're like, oh, I should file the LLC. So day 100 comes around and they sue you. Even though you're an LLC at the time the lawsuit happens, you were not an LLC the day the act happened.
Right.
So you can still be sued personally because you were not an LLC at that time. So I highly, highly suggest, if you're a business owner, to be an LLC at a minimum as soon as possible, because it's the cheapest protection to limit your personal liability. And it can really just save you a lot of money and a lot of headaches down the road.
Definitely. Awesome. Okay. So mindset and get an LLC at the minimum.
Yes. And there's, there's so much more in there. Contracts. And then of course you want to think about your intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights. But if you're just starting out, just keep in mind, look, the best thing you can do right now is to file an LLC. Yeah. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the Legalpreneur, because I think what you do such a great job at is in your business, where it's like every month you're getting like an email kind of with an update of like, okay, you've been in the program for like 3 months now. It would be great to do a trademark search. Like you kind of ease people into it. You're not like saying, okay, these are all the things we can do and let's do them right away. So it's
been really nice because like I don't feel overwhelmed and I definitely feel supported. I definitely need to take more advantage of the calls because I definitely don't, which I'm like, I just booked something for December because I'm like, it will definitely help me. At least I just do better when I like talk things out. But yeah, definitely talk more about the Legalpreneur because I think it's great.
Yeah, so we have our Legalpreneur membership, which gives business owners all access to an attorney. Right now, it's me, but I am building out a full team across the country to help no matter what the issue is, because I'm fine. You know, we have over 220 members now, and it's like people are asking for a wider range of things. People are asking for this or that, and it's like it's outside of my scope. But I am building a larger team to be able to serve more people and to serve a wider range of needs, because I've kind of pretty much just done the proof of concept. It works. People love it. Now let's make it bigger. Let's scale it. So with the Legalpreneur, it's all access. So you get unlimited emails, which is included. You get one 30-minute phone call per month. You get 10 pages of document review per month. And then you get access to our contract vault, which has over 100 contract templates that you can use for your business. And then we have other discounts in there, like a free IP audit, a free trademark search, your trademark application, and then a discount on any other services that you need. So it's all access, really just keeping the full picture of your business in mind. And the Legalpreneur, currently it is $209 a month, or $22.99 for the year. The annual plan is really where you get the most benefits. But even just being able to get in on the monthly plan is super, super helpful because you really have all access. It's all access.
Yeah. And like you said, I love the preventative side of it in the sense of like, if you needed to hire a lawyer, because I was like, oh, should I get contracts, blah, blah, blah. And like for so long I put it off because it was thousands of dollars just to talk to a lawyer, just to write a contract for me, so like the fact that now it's like you've wrote up contracts for my dietitians, you're doing it for my interns. Like there's so many things that it's just so great to just have that because I know I could have peace of mind. And then I'm also not spending so much, and that especially like you said, in potential legal fees if I didn't have these things. It really is like a no-brainer. Like I'm actually reflecting. This wasn't on purpose because I wanted to have you here just being a business owner and being a lawyer for anybody who's interested in starting a business or having one. But I am loving the parallels between this and like why someone would join our 6 month of food freedom program, because everyone feels overwhelmed about nutrition. They're not sure how to sift through it. There's so many things they can do. It's scary. They don't want to change. So instead of doing something, they just don't do it, or they do what they're used to doing. And it just, it's like a hot mess. But really what we're doing is we're preventing so much of those, medical complications in the long run, the hospital bills, the overall, just like your mental health, your quality of life, just like so many things. And it's so much more from it's like current, we're working on like current needs, like similar to your business as well. But it's also like so preventative and just, I didn't even realize when I was having you on, like how common it's the same. It's so similar, like, so thank you for what you do because it's definitely needed. And I would actually love for you to talk a little bit about your experience being in the 6 months of food freedom program, because I think you've done such a great job, and it would just be so cool, I think, for people to hear kind of your side and experience with it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. I knew I needed to be more intentional with eating and just not getting what's convenient and quick or whatever. And that's really what the program taught me and helped me. And I was I lost like 25 pounds, which has been amazing. And it's just really helpful to know, hey, I know I'm going to be going out to this restaurant. Okay. I could look at the menu beforehand to see, okay, instead of being overwhelmed at the restaurant, trying to figure out what to do. And then all the other businesses that I have, like, because I owned a poker club and going through that while in the program, being in the program while taking over the poker club is really, really helpful because I cater to my players and I wanted to be able to provide them with a great experience, but also not have me like fall back on all the progress that I made. Yeah. So being able to make just really, it was really, really helpful to be intentional in making these choices.
I love that. It's all about mindfulness, I think. And people, and I love that, you know, I always tell people it's not about the weight you lose. It's about the life you gain. The number on the scale isn't actually the thing that matters, but the fact that you were able to lose 25 pounds just by being mindful and intentional and having a plan, learning some things and not going in things blindsided, being prepared, like, and having a ton of accountability during a very stressful time because you're running multiple businesses. Like, it's just crazy. You know, I don't know how you do it, but it's awesome that you do. But
I never felt like I was dieting. Like, I never felt like I was dieting. And it was like, I can eat. But then because my biggest thing was overeating. So I could literally eat whatever I want, which I say whatever I want. But at that point, I was so intentional, like, this is what I want, like healthier choices. And then I would just stop when I wasn't hungry, like eating past fullness like that. Oh, that was my worst habit. And that comes from childhood trauma as well. Like having, you know, feeling the scarcity with food, and that another thing, I don't even think that was just from childhood trauma, but when I went to college in a super tiny town in Kentucky, there were no restaurants. Like, literally there was like a Wendy's and a McDonald's. And so anytime I would come home, I would plan out every single meal. And I'm like, oh, I got to eat all this. So like that, I feel like is from college, feeling that scarcity. But just really healing, you know, any traumatic relationship with whether it's food, romantic relationships, or, you know, parental relationships, that's just really helped me, I think, just not even grow and be successful, but just catapult that growth and success. Because I think eventually, you know, we slowly do the work here, slowly do the work there. But over the past year, I have been very, very intentional on healing these relationships, because I know, hey, I'm just getting started. Like, I'm just scratching the surface.
It's so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Yeah. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. I really want to circle back to what you said, like, earlier in the episode, where when you would watch TV and you knew you could do anything. And I think that that's what people need to they need to go into things with just this belief. And sometimes you might not believe it yet, but then just act, just do it. And eventually you'll become a believer. But like, I love hearing from you, Andrea, because it's just so clear of like, I am woman, hear me roar. Like, let's go.
Exactly. And because I never had I never saw the model of, oh, this is the potential of, if you're, you know, successful, you can accomplish this or that. I just saw it on TV. Like, and so people say, oh, TV is bad for you. No, that is why I am the way I am today, because that's the only time I ever saw it.
I love that.
And I just believed that I could do anything. And, you know, we were just chatting a minute ago how I literally have felt stuck where I am, but I know, like, I would love to move to Phoenix or Austin or LA, but my kids are here. My parents are here. And I just don't want to up and leave. I wouldn't, you know, ever take the kids away from my parents or their dad. And it's like, I'm in Houston, Andrea, there's something here for you. And I'm like, I feel like it's just the area that I'm in. So me and my friend literally went last Sunday. We're recording this on a Wednesday. We went Sunday to eat, just to eat. Like, I was like, there's these hot spots. I just want to go eat over there. And we were literally just like, this community is amazing. It's in a much nicer part of town. And I am a firm believer that you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with. Yeah. And I'm like, I just have to get around more people, like people on higher levels. And that's why we both joined the mastermind. But even just living in a different type of community, it's just I know it's going to force me to up level. But I'm really excited. So Sunday we went. Monday, I was like, Sunday I made the decision, or I was thinking about making this decision. Monday went and looked at the property and was like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just move.
Yeah. I love that. But I think that's the mindset. If you're listening and you are inspiring to be an entrepreneur, or you're currently one and you just need some affirmation, like, we do things, we just do it. We go with our gut. We bet on ourselves. We just do it. And then we trust that we'll figure it out if it doesn't work out.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Trust. Yeah. Like, trusting yourself. Yeah. That is so huge. And the thing is, like, if I wasn't healed, if I wasn't in alignment, and I'm not saying I'm completely healed, but if I wasn't going through the healing journey and I haven't healed the parts that I have already, and I wasn't in alignment, like, I don't think I would trust myself to do this, but I am so in alignment with who I am right now. I know I'm going to make it work. Like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be making so much more money over there. I'm going to make so many new friends over there. Like, it's going to like improve my life times 100. Mm-hmm. It's going to be great. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited.
Yeah. I love it. I love the optimism. Oh my God. There's so many lessons. Also, like, real quick before we wrap up, I think I need you to speak to the women who are saying they can't do a business because of their kids or where they live, or because you run multiple businesses. You're a mom. Like, there's so many components to your life that I think so many people hide behind. Mm-hmm. And not if this is hurting, I'm calling you out, maybe this is because you need to hear it. And then I'm just saying that in a gentle way, in a very gentle and loving way. But Andrea, what would you say to those women who are kind of holding themselves back right now with, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy, I don't have the space? Mm-hmm. What would you say?
Yeah. So I think if those are what's coming up for you, I would try to dig a little deeper, because I think what's really underneath that is fear. Mm. And so I'm a single mom of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. Like, I'm in the thick of it. Mm. And I will say that I am very lucky to have a great, a great ex-husband who's a wonderful, wonderful father. It was just one of those things like, look, you're not my person, but you're a great dad. Mm. And I know, like, I have I still have mom guilt. Like, I don't think that's ever going to go away, because I like to travel for business, because when I travel for business, like, it grows my business. So I know I have to. Right. And at the end of the day, if it's mom guilt that's coming up for you, remind yourself that if the shoe was on the other foot and it was a male, like, nobody would care. Like, nobody would say anything. Nobody would bat an eye. So true. Right now, like, I'm like trying not to react too early, but I already am. That is so true. I'm going through a lot with my parents, and this is another part of the reason why I'm moving, because I just need to get, like, they're older. They're not going to change their mindset, and I get that. But I just don't want to spend as much time with them as I have in the past. And part of it is because they put a lot of guilt on me for wanting to travel when I have kids. Like, oh, why are you going to do this? You have the kids. Why are you doing, like, yes, I have the kids. So what? Like, they're taken care of. Not that I'm not taking care of my kids. Like, we have joint custody, but I travel. And guess what? If I was the guy, nobody would say a thing. People would congratulate me for doing what I'm doing. Oh, that's so true. You're providing for your family. Yeah, I provide for my family. I pay the bills of my ex-husband. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm the one that's the breadwinner here. I'm trying to provide for everybody.
Thank you so much for speaking so much truth today. This is such a good episode, guys. I hope you are loving this. Andrea, before we wrap up, anything you want to add, say, comment to the listeners before we tell them where they can find you?
Don't be afraid to go after what you want. Like, if not now, then when? Like, that's why I'm moving. I'm going all in on another company. Like, because my mindset is, if not now, then when? Like, I put a lot of dreams on hold when I was still married. And then once I left, I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I am never doing that again.
That's so powerful. I think who you're with, or when you're not with someone, how you are, like, it matters. It definitely matters. Oh God, this has been so great. Andrea, where can people find you, connect with you, and potentially join Legalpreneur?
Yeah, so definitely you can find me on Instagram at Andrea Sager Law. You can find me on TikTok at The Legalpreneur.
Kill it on TikTok.
And I have the Legalpreneur podcast. And then if you go to thelegalpreneur.com, that's where you can find all of, the membership, all of our DIY resources, anything that you need help with when it comes to legal stuff, you can find it at thelegalpreneur.com.
Awesome. All right. I will put all that information in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. For you, those listening, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot of it. Tag me at tips_with_Tony with an I, and tag Andrea Sager. Is Andrea Sager Law on Instagram?
And just Andrea Sager Law. Yep.
Andrea Sager Law. Instagram, tag us. And if you're new to the podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. If you want to write a nice little review, that always helps.
Yeah.
And Yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.